Hi, I am excited to talk to you guys tonight about something that I think impacts so many of us. Um, and it can be really overwhelming because when you feel like you were doing everything possible, right, to see results, and I mean like, I want to feel better. I want my body to look better. I want my body to move better. I want to feel like myself. And when you're doing the things that are a sacrifice and you're still not getting that I don't know, the change and the shift that you want to see, it can be very overwhelming. And of all the topics I think that I cover with clients or that women reach out and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I feel like one of the biggest ones when we talk about symptoms of the body, right? So more physical things. It's like, why is my body swollen? Why do I have like, right through here, the soft layer? Why do I feel like no matter what I'm doing, I still can't get rid of the soft layer of body fat? Why is my stomach, 7 months pregnant? And most of those questions come down to inflammation or bloating. And this whole past year, have struggled with that pretty bad and didn't understand where it came from. I'm like, I don't feel like my life has shifted very much. My eating habits haven't shifted, right? The same things when we had like perimenopause and menopause. It's like, I haven't changed anything. Why is my body shifting? And I'm not sure what I need to change to keep up with it so I can feel like myself again. And that's what I want to kind of hopefully explain with you guys tonight of where some of these shifts are coming from so that you can be aware of them and then what the heck do we do about it, right? And because I've experienced this so much this past year, it's been very enlightening. I think it's always good as a coach to go through something so that you know how to then help everybody else because you've lived through it with your own experience. So hopefully this is helpful. One thing I didn't understand about inflammation and bloating is the basic question. Why do we get it? Where does it come from? And it's not just those symptoms that sometimes we'll feel. I mean, I'd love to know if you guys get these also, but it's the brain fog. It is tired but wired. It's like I'm dead tired, but yet I still feel like my mind is going crazy. It is the stubborn belly fat. It is, I mean, the sugar crash is, that it's like you crave something and then all of a sudden you have the sugar crash after and you want to sleep. It's the afternoon nap at 3 p.m. Can't sleep at night. All of these symptoms that should seem like there's a possible solution and it should be an easy fix and it's not, but they are all related. And that's what I didn't understand. We can get these symptoms by a few reasons, but the ultimate culprit of all of this, all those symptoms that I've just mentioned, it comes down to central nervous system regulation. That's the piece that I felt like I was missing, right? Because if you're inflamed or bloated, you tend to eat less. You try to cut out foods, right? Brain fog or lack of sleep. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get in bed earlier. You kind of come up with normal, tactical, logical things to fix some of those symptoms that are really annoying. And yeah, they wreck their mood the whole rest of the day because it's frustrating not feeling and showing up like yourself. And so when I was able to figure that out, it was like last May. Um, I had a couple of events that were pretty stressful and very, very overwhelming. And I feel like everybody's level capacity of handling stress is slightly different. But this was like a culmination of a few things. Most of it was post-divorce stuff. And so it was heavy. It had been weighing on me a lot. And so as a single mom and trying to deal with all these things, stress can be very high. And I think stress looks different for everybody. And when that stress is so high, how it works with your central nervous system, right, can cause havoc on your body. And we always talk about that. Like, we're stressed, right? Yeah, there's stress is okay. Like a little bit of stress is okay. It's kind of like a smoke detector, right? When it's in your kitchen and you need it, it's so valuable. It saves the house. But when it keeps going off, right, and beeping, and like in the middle of the night, and you want to tear it down and chuck it out the window, it's not so helpful then. That's kind of the role of cortisol, is it does its job great when you're being chased by a lion or, it's like when someone walks up behind you and startles you, or you like look up from looking down driving, you look up and the car's braked in front of you and you get that like jolt through your whole body of adrenaline. It does its job. The problem is we keep that going through the whole day and our system and our body cannot keep up. And so when the nervous system, right, is impacted, it has a lot of trickle down effects. One of it is hormones, right? So it impacts our cortisol. And so when we have that dysregulation, we get so many of these symptoms. So oftentimes I don't know if you guys feel this way also, but I would always just look at the symptom, but not I didn't know how to trace it back to where it came from or where it started from because I didn't really ultimately know how to fix it. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm swollen from after eating, it just must be a food issue. But when I understood the process of how the nervous system now works and trickles down and impacts the kidney, it impacts the liver, and impacts through the stomach. You have the vagus nerve that goes all the way down through your body and connects all of that through the stomach. And so you have a lot of impact. Your body is not meant to have that fight or flight feeling for so long. So when I describe this day, because I have a lot of, I have the opportunity to coach a lot of women. And when I'm talking to them, they'll say, well, I'm not divorced. Like my money situation's okay. These big life events that we think are, only stressful, huge events like that might catapult us into this stressful state. But it's not just large events, right? It's not just a one health, isolated health concern. It's daily choices all day long that put too much stress on our body, and we all have a different capacity for dealing with that, right? And regulating again. So with that said, let me kind of describe a few things. I think as women, we get really, really good at masking and saying we're fine. How many of you say, I'm fine? No, I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, I can volunteer at school. I'm fine. I can fix dinner. Oh, I can run somebody so and so. Oh, you can't go to the meeting? Sure. Like I'll do it. Oh, I'll pick up the project. Oh, I can run carpool, right? Oh, I'll take the shift that somebody couldn't do. I'll stay up, with the sick kid. Like we just, if you have children or you work with children in any capacity or you have a job, you're married, right? There's a lot of giving. And sometimes we have a harder time saying no. We have that expectation that we should do these things. We don't have the greatest boundaries. And this is not everybody. And if you're not this person, please let me know how you do it. But all those little things throughout the day stress the body. Even the anticipation of a conversation where you want to say no, you don't want to do something, but you feel guilty as you should, even though you mentally cannot handle on your plate, the anticipation of that skyrockets our cortisol and impacts our body. And so our nervous system, right? We've got the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and we want to get out of the sympathetic. The sympathetic is like the fight or flight. It is always anticipating something. It's anxiety, and so throughout the day, if you feel like a few of these symptoms I didn't realize were stress at the time, was I always feel like a knot in my stomach, like literally a tight knot. And so I'd have to like hold my stomach with my hand and kind of breathe. Like if I just breathed enough, it would kind of relax the tight clench inside of my stomach. And I would get that numerous times throughout the day. It was just, oh my gosh, if I can just get my stomach to relax, why is it so tight? Sometimes it is, right, a heart racing. And so it's just like your hand on your heart. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I need to breathe and kind of calm down. Sometimes it's just sitting and feeling overwhelmed. So if you have multiple things to do and you sit in a stupor and you just need to disassociate, which is checking out, not recharging, but checking out on our phone, right, is because there's so much overwhelmment of all the things we should be doing, right? Should, because I hate that word, but it's what we all say. I should be doing these things. And the body gets overwhelmed, right? So even a stupor of thought of like, I'm not even sure where to start. I'm not even sure if I should do this or this, feeling overwhelmed. Any of these things, right, are our body giving us signals that we're not okay. We're overwhelmed. But being that we're women, we tend to power through. I'm like, well, I'm in my house by myself. Who else is going to mow the lawn? Who else is going to fix dinner, right? We're in certain situations with jobs or kids where there's not someone else to step up. So we do it. That's when women say, I don't feel stress. And I'll say, oh, great. Describe your day, right? Walk me through what your day looks like. Walk me through how many times you say yes when you don't have the capacity, but we just do. Walk me through all the racing thoughts, all the, the here, here, here. It's like squirrel with so much things we have to do. Yeah, you may be able to keep up with that, but your body doesn't. Right? I always think of the analogy like when my kids were younger, we'd walk through Costco and I'm super tall. You guys know this. I'm like 6 feet tall. So I have long legs. I walk very quickly and my kids don't know any different. They just kind of from little age keep up. Right. And I would try to slow it down. Don't get me wrong, but they're just used to walking fast because of me. But after a while, they're like, Mom, like you got to slow down. And I feel like that's our bodies, like the little kids saying, yeah, you think we got it. And I'm, thank you for thinking I'm strong enough to keep up with you, right? My body talking to me, but I can't. So we got to slow down. If we don't slow down, my point of all this is that's when the body says, it's almost like it sticks up the middle finger to us. If I can say that in the most broad way, it has enough. It cannot, hold at that running rate. It's just like a car. If you don't rotate the tires, put new tires on, oil changes, right? Giving it the means to function properly, it will just right? It stops running at some point because it has not been maintained or taken care of. And we think we're in control. So with that said, all of these symptoms now come into play, right? So that's why we have the brain fog and the afternoon crashes and the sugar cravings, right? And you wonder, why do I crave sugar all the time or after a meal? A lot of times when we are craving food, especially sugar, it's actually not your body being hungry. It is not you wanting the candy or the cupcake or the chips, because my vice is always the chips. When I'm stressed and I come in from outside, or I've just got off a stressful phone call, or just even one that gives me a little anxiety or a confrontation I didn't want to deal with, or I'm annoyed at something, I want chips, Doritos specifically, and I will eat a quarter of a bag to half a bag. And then it's just like the guilt afterwards. I'm like, I need to do something different. And if you come in and you have sugar cravings or you can't say no to sugar cravings, a lot of times it's been proven that that is actually your body's central nervous system craving regulation. And because of how like sugar and carbs work inside your body and all the hormones that are released, it calms you. So you don't actually need the treat. Your body isn't saying I'm craving sugar, it's craving regulation. And that is a huge piece to understand. And so now when I come in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need those chips. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, step back. I don't need to devour half a bag of Doritos, right? Logically, we can all say, I don't need that piece of food. I did not need to yell and overreact at that poor salesman, right? Because it was like the last thing that broke, the patience level for me. And so when we can understand, like when we can step back, right? I always advise like everyone, all the clients that I work with, I always say you need to come up with a list every day of everything that's on your mind. I want a brain dump of all the things that you think you should get done, right? In like a however many hours you're awake. All of the things. And as a woman, the list is so overwhelming. Or I'll say stop and I want like a brain dump, like anything that comes to your head, just dump on a piece of paper. In an hour, all of the thoughts that you have, right? Like the thought of I need to do this, the thought of I'm not good enough, the thought of why isn't my dinner done, the thought, right? There's a lot of thoughts, right? As we kind of keep track throughout the hour that you have, and you'll realize how overwhelmed you maybe can be. And that's why the body's like, okay, I can't do this. So I also like you to think anytime you have that sugar craving or the emotional eating, right? Where we come from a situation, and we emotionally eat, we binge eat. It's usually, again, our body craves regulation. It wants to calm down. And after you eat those foods, you typically feel calm, right? We feel better. We're comforted. It's not the Doritos. It's not the cupcake. It's the combination of what you've eaten and how it works in the body. It's calm now. So what we need to do is figure out how to calm ourselves without adding extra calories that we don't need, right? That then just feeds the problem of, hey, I'm trying to lose body fat. Why am I not losing body fat? And we don't need the sugar crashes, right? The blood sugar dysregulation from all the carbs, because it's usually carbs. It's never like broccoli or a piece of steak that calms us down. It's not anything that I know anyone that craves. And so it's important to know how to regulate. But you first have to have a self-assessment, right? I don't believe, and I tell every coaching client this, like it is not about trying harder. And it is not about more discipline with any of this, not just this piece of stress, any part of your health and fitness journey. It is about better understanding your behaviors and patterns. Why do you do what you do? So throughout the whole day, I challenge you to think of that. Like if you snap at somebody, literally, why did I just snap at them? There's an emotion and dysregulation. Something inside of me is bothering me. Is it lack of sleep? Did I not eat enough? Did I eat too much crap? Like, did I not resolve something here? Right. And so we snap. Why can I not get up in the morning to go, get my workouts done when I want to? Every night I say I'm going to get in bed and I don't. Why can I not get in bed? Why did I not eat the protein? I mean, like, why did I eat all of the sugars, the emotional eating, or why did I eat out again? Or, why did I not do this? We have a long list of things I know as women we think we should get done, and especially with health and fitness. And so then we beat ourselves up afterwards or compare ourselves of, I failed again. I didn't get these things done. And so when we look at the why behind it, it isn't the fact of, I told myself to get up and I'd go walking in the morning. Something simple, right? Why didn't I do it? And we think the walking is the problem, right? I just can't walk in the morning. Maybe I'm not somebody that walks in the morning. I can't make myself walk. And then we beat ourselves up. But in actuality, it's not the fact that we can't get up and walk. It's not the walking at all that's the problem. You can probably easily get up and walk. It's steps. It's always layers back that you got to digest and like almost like peeling the onion layer back, right? To the very core of the onion. When we look at it, I was helping a client with this the other day where her struggle was, I can never get up and get my workout in. So she's then beating herself up. So I was explaining, well, let's work backwards. I don't think it's the workout that's the problem, because she just wanted to quit workouts. And I said, I described, the peeling the onion layer back, and it's like, okay, so why is it the physical thing? What are you thinking when you're in bed that you don't want to get out, right? And she describes, well, it's warm and it's comfy and it's, I'm just starting to think about my day and I like being all wrapped up, and it's the one time where I feel safe and I can have some thoughts and the stress hasn't hit yet. And then so she hit snooze over and over and over and over. And so I said, okay, so I don't think the problem is walking in the morning. I think the problem is you snooze. Like you hit the snooze 3 times, right? And she said, well, yeah. I said, okay, so the challenge is not get to outside and walk. The challenge is fix the relationship with the alarm, right? No more snoozing. Or instead of snoozing 3 times, we're going to snooze twice and then we get up. And then we're going to snooze once and then we get up. And maybe we keep it there. Maybe always we snooze once and then we get up. So you still get that feeling of feeling warm in your bed and that peace that comes. We can still get that. Maybe we even start 5 minutes earlier. But it's the alarm that's the battle. It's the snoozing that's the battle. It's not the actual walking out in the morning. And she was blown away of like, I've been beating myself up. Like, why can't I do something as simple as walk in the morning? Like, what's wrong with me? When in actuality, it's the pain point of she loves being in bed and it's nice and warm and she hates the snooze button. And that was the issue. So we just had to get over the snooze button and figure out a system to work there. So again, it's not something like, oh, if I just had more discipline, I get up and walk, right? And then the aftermath of beating ourselves up is terrible, that noise in our head. So it's important to figure out why, right? Why do I do these things? Because she was adding more stress to her life, beating herself up, negative self-talk, the all or nothing thought. Those are all very stressful components we put on ourselves. And so to be able to step back and really look at what the problem is, like why do I do this? And then peel that back. So that's my very favorite part, I think, of all that I do with working with women is the phone calls of, it's almost therapy actually, of figuring out why did you yell at so and so? Why do you insist on this? Or why do you have this routine? Why do you sit in the car, for so long before coming in the house after getting out of, work? Because all these things are keeping you from where you want to be. So with that said, all of these things add stress. So if we can figure out why the behavior is there, why we can do some things but can't do other things, understanding yourself really, then you're able to manage your stress better because then you can step back and say, okay, so what is the pressure for me to do this specific thing, right? And it's about management, but we can't manage something that we don't fully understand. And so that's the joy of really doing a lot of self-assessment and brain dumping and then talking to someone or working with somebody or what I offer of peeling all that back because then your whole world shifts and all these things you didn't think you could do, you can now do, whether it's starting a hobby or in a business or I don't know. There's just a lot of self-limiting things we do just because we don't have the knowledge necessary or the skill to peel back and understand the behavior patterns, because that's really everything. So with that, all right, so figuring out your identity, why do you do what you do is probably the biggest thing in being able to regulate this. I realized after I had my blow up back May, that at the time you don't see things changing, right? My body this is the result of never saying no, doing way more than I can handle. All the things I just talked about is I noticed over a few weeks that I felt like my muscle was disappearing. I've shared this story and it just really started to bother me because I'm like, I know how to do my workouts. I do my workouts every day. Like nothing has changed. Why is my muscle disappearing? Like my arms looked smaller, my abs were looking smaller, my legs were looking smaller. And I finally asked a girlfriend in the gym and she's like, no, you're just getting fatter. You've just got more body fat on you and it's just covering it. And it was like an aha moment of, wait, what? But I haven't changed my diet. It never occurred to me that I was gaining more body fat, but my muscles were there. They were just covered. So I'm like, I don't think it's body fat. And so as I really dove into this to understand what inflammation is and that you can get it full body, I was on this huge quest to get rid of it, but not just eliminate it. I needed to understand what got me there so that I don't do those same behaviors so that it wouldn't keep coming back and back and back. And then obviously how to get out of it. So if you feel like you're inflamed, I wish I could show you some pictures. I'll just share them in my stories. Ankles that are enormous, right? So your ankle bone is gone. So that's a huge piece is ankle swelling. If you have like leggings and you get the line down the center of your leg or at the bottom, right? There's water retention there. That's why there's lines, right? So those are the two biggest things. Your rings don't fit. Your face is full. Like my daily accountability selfie that I always do just to show I'm showing up. You can see like I'll be more chiseled sometimes and more puffy sometimes. And I have people comment on it and I'm like, yep, that day I was stressed. And so you can kind of monitor where you are. Inflammation covered my back muscle, my biceps, like it is everywhere. It is so annoying. And so then I realized, oh my gosh, if I thought that I just put on all this body fat for so many weeks, if that was true, right? And it made logical sense because why would I be inflamed through my entire body? I just assumed that's through the stomach or maybe swollen ankles, like you kind of hear, but I didn't even realize you could swell through your arms and your back. And so if I did not realize it was inflammation, I would have just thought it was body fat because it looks just like body fat. I would have started eating less, which then stresses the body out worse, So now I'm getting more stress because I'm eating less. And I would have done a little more walking or cardio or whatever it is that we do to think, oh my gosh, I'm putting on weight. I need to scale back, right? We do the same things. Starve, eat less, more cardio. I mean, the typical responses I usually get. But the problem is that's what we can't do because that then raises cortisol even more and our body does not feel safe. There's more trauma. So it stays stuck in that sympathetic flight or fight, right? We don't want to be in the flight or fight. We want to move it, which we'll talk about now, to the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. I mean, even from the terms that they are given, you can see that one is about healing and actually digesting your food and letting your body run properly. And one is like a crazy little 2-year-old that needs a nap and is loaded on sugar and soda. And so which do you want, right? When you can visually step back and say, oh my gosh, like my body inside my head and my body's been like a circus running for so long. And so but then the natural thing to say is, well, what am I supposed to do? What if it's my spouse that stresses me out? What if I'm a single mom? What if it's my kids? What if it's my job? Like you can't quit your job, you can't kick your kids out, and sometimes you can't leave your spouse. So we look at how to then manage those situations, right? There's a lot of ways we can manage things. Some of us don't put up boundaries. Some of us aren't great with time management, right? We kind of create some of the stress ourselves. And so that's where it comes into working with somebody to try to figure out, okay, for my own time management and boundaries and all these things, why don't I set a boundary, right? That goes back to like the therapy aspect of kind of working backwards. And so there's the obvious things that I wish we could do, take away a health struggle, take away a financial struggle, but those things just can't be fixed overnight, but we can manage them better. And so there's a few things that I always tell clients when I have them do. Well, every single client that comes in, for one, when they say, hey, I think I have 30 pounds to lose, I'm like, okay, that's great. But we don't know how much of that is body fat or inflammation because now I know that inflammation goes everywhere and it looks like body fat. And I don't want to drop someone's calories too low, assuming that half of that is fat when it's not. It's inflammation and it's a very different course to take, right? So for me, when I finally figured out it was inflammation, I needed to have a protocol, right? So I knew that I needed to regulate my nervous system, but needed to figure out how. I needed to manage stress a little bit better. I needed something to support my kidneys and my stomach because all of that is wrecked at this point. It's not healing. That's why our stomach swells and looks 7 months pregnant. All of the things I suggested, all those symptoms all come from these organs not working very well at this point and connecting and signaling to each other correctly. But I also knew that it had to be anti-inflammatory foods. It needed to be a diet. Now, I know most of you are probably familiar with the anti-inflammatory diet. I think we've tried them on and off, right, here or there. What I hated about them, because I've done them in the past, is great. You cut out grains, you cut out sugar, a lot of those carbs, dairy, things like that. But then what else do I eat? I just cut out 800 calories a day. And so then I would starve, which then is the loop of being more stressed. And I never saw the healing that I needed. So I just had to figure out supplements that would help heal the kidneys and my stomach. And then I wanted like more of a meal replacement shake that's like no dairy, no grains, no artificial sweeteners, because artificial sweeteners destroyed me. I don't do all those in any capacity as often as I can because the combination of that killed my stomach. And so it was like looking for very, very easy things to let this system heal, right? So we can't keep putting inflammatory foods that like piss it off over and over if you're trying to let it heal. So that's where I had to come up with like a whole food guide of what to eat that was all inflammatory, but that I was not starving and that was good. So that's where I ended up with the protocol of knowing nervous system regulation, what foods to eat, things that might support the kidney and the stomachs and get them back running and on track. Within the first 7 days, I lost 10 freaking pounds. So that's when I realized, oh my gosh, like all of the clients that I've been doing and talking to each week, I could have helped or worked with so much better if I knew that so much of this weight. Now, not everyone's gonna have 10 pounds to lose. Don't think that. But since May, I've run every single one of my clients through this that's one-on-one, and we've lost as little as 2 pounds to 12 pounds. But inches around their stomach, because when you inflame, it doesn't just have to be a 7-month look pregnant belly. That's more bloating. When the belly extends out or like underneath your belly button and it's a poochie, right? Like you could grab the basketball, like a pregnant look, that's bloating. That's typically like a food item. I mean, there's other things I can help you guys with, from leaky gut to SIBO, low stomach acid level. Those are the 3 biggest culprits that we deal with. But inflammation is different, right? That's when your arms disappear, your back disappear, your face is bigger, the soft look everywhere. So it's crazy when you just do some of these nervous system things and eat the right foods and let your body try to heal. The inflammation just falls off. So then obviously after 3 weeks, we reintroduce some of those foods back in one at a time with very strict data points of watching, hey, how does my body respond? And it's really, really cool. It's awesome because It's nice to see your body back. Like my muscle shows again. I feel like me. And that's the whole point of this. Like I want you guys to feel like you. You look in the mirror and you know what you're supposed to look like. You know what you want to think and more importantly feel when you look in the mirror. And so that's the whole point of why I started to coach. Like I want you guys to be able to wear your shorts and look down and be proud of your legs and be like, dang, I got sexy legs, right? How often do we wear pants? Sometimes myself included, because that's probably my most least liked area. And I wear pants because I don't love how they look. I know women that won't wear short sleeves, right? Because we don't like how our arms fit. We don't wear swimsuits. We cover up. We don't even like looking in the mirror because we don't like what we feel in that moment. It's not even the legs or the mirror or the reflection. It's the feeling that we want to get rid of. And so in any way I can help you with that. And when you give your body a chance to heal by the reset and getting foods out of your system, you're going to feel more like you. Your irritability, the sugar cravings, everything shifts. And then it's slowly introducing foods back in while maintaining the nervous system reset. So with that, there's a few very simple things that I always encourage people to do. And when I say these are simple, like I literally kind of chuckled at first, like this is going to fix something. So know that it's okay if you feel the same way. But it is a very, very simple thing. Number one thing for nervous system reset, now that you kind of understand it, is breath work. Absolutely key because breath work is one of the fastest ways to take the body from that fight or flight into the rest and digest, into parasympathetic. And you're going to be able to feel so much better. That's what I get rid of like I just need to take a deep breath or that pit in my stomach sometimes, or just the feeling of sitting and wanting to bawl because you're so freaking overwhelmed. Like, I can't do this any longer, right? Gosh, this made me cry. Like, I've had many, many of those moments, but you have to keep showing up. You have to. Like, and in most cases, especially running a house by myself, there's not an option. And so it's like, well, okay, I know that I need to keep showing up to be the best example for my girls. So then I need to figure out a way to operate better, right? So it's again, and then I was like, no, it's not about trying better or trying harder. That just adds more stress because I feel like I'm trying harder. It's why do I do all these things? So the breath work is going to be the very key in that moment where you're sitting and crying, you're having your moment of overwhelm or like, I don't want to do this anymore, especially if you're a mom with young kids. Breathe. It's about the breath work. There's multiple types. I've got a couple links I can send you guys that I film myself doing them and just walk you through them, right? And it's just literally deep, not shallow chest, but in your stomach, all the way down. It is nuts how much better you're going to feel. So that's one of the first things I have clients do. Second is at the end of your shower, 15 seconds on cold water, which I hate. I like spin in circles. I can't even stand because I'm such a wimp and just let the water hit me. I will rotate and rotate. You want to work up to like a minute or so. That's crazy how that will do that. Gratitude journal, as lame as that may sound or silly, it's all about switching, right? The things, the hormones in our brain and switching to parasympathetic. And when you focus on something that makes you smile, that may maybe take you out of the stress of your day or a hard situation that you have, a marriage that is difficult, a work job that's difficult, being a mom, right? The never-ending need. Writing things that make you happy, even if you have to spend 10 minutes because you're like, I got nothing. Find something or a memory, something to be grateful for. I mean, it makes me smile talking about it. And that shift is automatic. And so you may be journaling like 18 times a day if you've got stress, but it will help shift that. A couple other ones that are kind of weird is so the vagus nerve goes back behind our throat and then down. And so gargling and humming are two good things that will also help that switch. And then obvious ones of being outdoors, right? Spending time with family, finding hobbies. Ironically enough, I used to think being on my phone, like taking a break from work and just like scrolling online was like a break and that was recharging for me. And it is not. Someone pointed that out to me once and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been disassociating. That's a very different from a recharge because when I get off my phone, I have a list of things I should do better. Other, like maybe someone's post, I'm like, oh, I could do mine better. That was better than mine. Or it could be a to-do list, or it could just be overwhelmed because of something else you read. Or, I mean, I don't ever get off there and be like, oh, I'm so relaxed, not a thought in the world. It's usually more to things on my to-do list. And so we've got to find ways that get you to recharge. And I realize that is so much easier said than done, especially if you've got kids or whatever your situation is. But in the car, before you pull up to the store, right? You stop your car, breathe for a few seconds. Just find some like habit stack it. If you're in the shower, breathe while you're in the shower, right? Peeing on the toilet, right? I don't even care what it is you do. Pull out your phone, write something that you're grateful for. But habit stacking, so you brush your teeth, you write 3 things in your gratitude journal. Whatever it is that works for you, find a system, because that is where systems come in place. You have to say, I'd like to do this, and then you must come up with a commitment. almost like scheduling a dentist appointment. Like you literally schedule yourself at this time, I will do it. And don't give yourself an unrealistic expectation. As simple as gratitude journaling or breath work sounds, it's developing that habit to remember. So I set timers on my phone, and that's what I do. I'm like, you got to breathe right now, right? Because I know certain parts of my day where I feel it. So there's a lot of those little things, and I hope that those help as far as you got to start at the top. You cannot pull food out and eliminate dairy or grains if you don't fix the problem. And so that's where the top of the problem is. And then it's a matter of like letting some of the rest of your body catch up and heal. And that's why we, as we're managing stress, we're working on saying no, we're setting boundaries, which looks different for everybody. Asking for our family to support us. Like, hey, I tend to do da 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 da, and it's wrecking me, and I'm irritable, and it's showing up because I am inflamed everywhere. I need your guys' help so that I can ultimately show up as a better mom or employee or like me, as a coach, right? And so you got to involve people around you so they have an idea, and that hopefully will eliminate or reduce some of that stress. And I realize not everyone's situation can do that, but do the best you can to set yourself up for success because then when the environment is hopefully a little less stressful or schedule walks, if you can, if your work hour is terrible or overwhelming, right? In any capacity, I don't care if it's 3 minutes, just something to get your mind off of it and breathe, right? Remind yourself, look at a picture of a cute grandbaby or something that just gives you that endorphin rush of like, okay, this is good. Then the last thing that we're going to focus on is food. And this is, I feel like, what makes the biggest difference because it's the very last straw that your body can take. So it's just like the bomb you throw in, it's like, but there were so many other things that got you to that point. And so when I pulled the food out and then, had some of the supplements that I had finally found that I liked that would work, my body was allowed to heal because I wasn't continually introducing more things to stress it out. So the food part is a big piece. There are a lot of foods that are inflammatory and some foods that are anti-inflammatory. And so we want to make sure that we pull out the ones that can inflame us. Now, that does not mean that these foods inflame everybody. That's the joy of pulling them out, giving yourself 2 to 3 weeks to let it heal. And then when you can, right, and in a particular order, we reintroduce one food back at a time. And you see what your body does. Now, how do we monitor that? For me, I decided back in May when I was testing all this was the scale, right? So I use this scale as a monitor for bloating and inflammation. And when I got on, right, it was a certain number, and it was 160, which was well above where I usually am. And by the end of those 7 days, every morning I would get on, like always weigh yourself first thing in the morning right after you pee. Don't eat, don't drink, nothing. It needs to be a very apple to apple. And by the end of the 7 days, I was down to 150. I changed nothing else. It was literally just pulling out certain foods and then doing some of those nervous system suggestions that I made to you. There was nothing else because I needed a good baseline. Like I can't change all of these things and then be like, well, did I not exercise? Was that it? When I did not do this, right? So there's a lot of those things because I'm pretty good at walking. I maintain my workouts pretty well. I don't love cardio, so I don't do a lot of high intensity cardio, which by the way, the more cardio you do is a stressor on your body. So if you were doing a lot of high intensity cardio throughout the week, I would definitely pull that back, especially if you're perimenopause or menopause. That could be a really big stressor. And so we adjust the movement, right? Walking is phenomenal. We want to focus on walking. And then, yeah, the strength workouts, but we look at each person and how stressed you are and let the body respond to that. So that's when I pulled those foods out the first week, right? The second week, I still saw a little bit of change, but I felt better, right? My pants now fit because my stomach is flat. My stomach's flat by the end of the day. That was a bloody miracle because I hadn't seen that in a long time. Even my waistline, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I can see my hip bones again because they've been gone for a little while because of this inflammation. My ankle bones are back. So yes, are we excited about the body that you feel like is yours returning and that you recognize? And then if you still have some body fat left, great. Now instead of thinking you have 30 pounds to diet for, you only have 20 because if you lost 10 pounds like I did, that's a huge difference, right? I'm not saying again, everyone has 10 pounds, but you don't know till you do it. And so the importance of looking at those data points, right? I also did body tape measurements. So I suggest if you do this, body tape measurements, because we don't know where that information is going to be coming from. And I'm so grateful I kind of did all this and then looking back, grateful, and took pictures. And so around my thighs, I lost 1.25 inches per thigh. Oh my gosh, I could actually see some of my leg muscle again. I kept thinking I just have like, I don't know. That's the hardest part for me to lose body fat, and I've got to work out harder, eat less, like all the things that we say that we need to do. But it was inflammation and a lymph drainage, issue. So if any of you have lymph drainage problems, especially through your legs, I also struggle with that. I have a whole protocol for that too. There are certain movements to do. There are certain ways to lay. There's a lot of things, the pressure points and all those things that we do. So that's like a byproduct that can also happen with the stress, but it's a different protocol, more movement based of things that we need to do to get that running and just flush through your body. So it's fun though when you have a plan. The worst part is when you feel hopeless and like I'm going to be stuck like this forever. And when I say that, it's not so much the number on the scale that I think. Tell me if you agree or disagree. It's okay if you don't agree with this, but working with enough women one-on-one now, every single time that I talk to them and they're very adamant about that scale changing, or they want to get in the shorts or wear the swimsuit or feel sexy in the dress for the party, or I'd say that's probably the result, right? They really want the scale number to change. They want to be able to wear the shorts and feel comfortable. And I always have to tell them it's not about the scale changing. They're like, yeah, it is. It's really important to me. I'll be happier. I'll feel better. And I always like to throw this out is I think it's the pain point, the feeling that you want to get rid of. It's not the scale. Because I asked them, I'm like, this gal was so cute and she finally opened up and I was peeling back the onion layer with her like why are you so insistent and so obsessed and so upset that you overlook all the positive things you've changed, but the scale isn't changing the way you'd like it to yet or as fast. And she finally started to cry and it was so tender because she's like, I don't know, it just really needs to change. I don't like how I feel about it. And a whole bunch of other things. So when I worked back with her, I said, why? Why is this number such a big deal? Well, she's like, well, I want to feel different, right? I want to look different. And then it's like, okay, well, why do you care if you look different? You think, are your friends not going to like you? Well, no. And then when I asked, because she'll say a statement, I'll say, and why does that bother you? And why is that a big deal? I want to be a size 6. And why do you want to be a size 6? Obviously, this is respectfully and loving in a safe place because she knows me well because we work together. And it's like, okay, why do you have to be a size 6? And then it finally came out that she said, I want to be a size 6 so that when I stand in front of my husband, I can stand with the lights on and he can see me because I won't let him see me in the light. I only let him see me like we were intimate in the dark because I'm afraid if he sees me, he won't like what I look like and he'll leave me. Oh my gosh, I bawled. It makes me tear up thinking about like that we have some of those feelings. So it has nothing to do with the number on the scale. Nada. Is everything to want to get rid of that feeling of my husband might leave me because he doesn't like how I look, right? And that's a heavy, heavy feeling to have. So she's desperate for the scale to change because she just thought something will be different if the scale's there. But in reality, she's desperate for this feeling to be gone. And sometimes it's the same thing with like we feel terrible looking in front of the mirror or wearing the shorts, right? We want the feeling of I don't want to hide my legs anymore. I want to be able to wear the shorts proudly and be okay with my legs. So we're desperate for the scale to change. So we do all the things to get the scale to change. When really what we want to change is we don't want to have that feeling about our legs anymore because it's a very heavy feeling. We want to just be able to put on shorts and not think twice about it. Look in the mirror and not immediately pick ourselves apart. And so when you understand the why you're doing some of those things, it makes it easier. Again, look at your behaviors and patterns. All of this goes back to the same thing, which is what I think is the most important understanding of when they say mindset. I always thought that's dumb, like mindset. Okay, I'm going to do it this time. Like I shifted my mindset. It's not that. That's what my coaching literally is, just understanding behaviors and patterns, because you have to be a different person to see different results. You cannot be the same person and expect the scale to be different, because for the scale to change, you have to have a lot of shifts. You have to eat differently. You have to eat less. You have to eat more of certain foods, less of certain other foods. You got to walk more. You got to exercise more, right? There's so many steps, as you guys know, to lose 20, 30 pounds. And when you change those things because you're a person that now does them consistently on your own, then the scale is just a reflection of how much you have changed, right, at the core. But the most important piece is in our mind of how we view it and understanding why we do what we do with our patterns and our behaviors every day, all day, why we ignore certain things, why we can do certain things, right? And so all this goes back because your nervous system goes out of whack when that is all out of whack. So hopefully this helps a little bit. I just get super passionate about it because I know how important it is. And I want you guys to feel better because I feel so much better. And I know how important it is to want to feel like yourself in your body. There's a lot of noise in our heads that we feel, especially with comparison or not wanting to wear the clothes we want or not loving ourselves or looking in the mirror and having compassion instead of just picking us, every part of your body apart. That feeling is very, very heavy. And so it's usually those feelings we want to get rid of. So we've just got to better understand ourselves and give yourselves grace that it's a working project and you don't know what to do, right? You're not a licensed therapist. You're not a trainer or a nutritionist. And that's why we send our kids, if you've got a kid in basketball, you send them to camps in the summer and they practice as a team multiple times a week. I had a kid that was he swam all the time, right? They broke state records. But do you think that he knew how to do that when he was younger? He was horrible, like literally horrible. We have videos to prove it. I'm like, this kid's never going to swim. Well, his team ends up breaking state records, but it's because he put in thousands of hours of practice. paying for specific coaches. We've dumped so much money into that kid, and he did well. This is new. This is learning how to swim for you guys, right? Like I had to experience all this, go to school, all these trainings to better understand it and then apply it and help you guys. But you shouldn't know how to do this. You're not supposed to know that. That's like you starting where he is 8 years after, swimming for 8 years, but expecting to jump in as good as him swimming at 8 years and be able to keep up. It isn't. It's very slow. Give yourself grace. And we work on one thing at a time. You start where you are. You don't start where you want to be. So don't compare your journey or give yourself a plan that starts where you want to be. Because if you could be doing that, you would be doing that. So that's why we got to meet yourself where you are with the type of workouts you do, the frequency of your workouts, whether you track or don't track, how you handle your food, how you handle your emotional eating or your snacking, or how often you eat out or your alcohol, how you handle your stress, right? Because all of these things are going to impact that. So hopefully we can do some maybe journaling and looking at, yeah, what does stress me out through the day? Where are the points where I get frustrated? Where are the things that I'm overwhelmed with? And make categories and figure out which of those you can adjust, where you can put some boundaries, maybe get rid of or eliminate. Maybe you're involved in too many things, right? I mean, when I last thought is, years, what is it now? 10 years ago, when I had my knee surgery, I had screws put in and I was told I wouldn't walk again because my muscles wouldn't come back on. Not atrophied. They were like physically removed is what it was like. And so I lived on my couch. I didn't leave my house for 4 months. We had neighbors bring in meals. I had to come to terms with the fact that not, crutches in a massive brace or in a wheelchair, I wouldn't function the same. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do this with little kids, right? And you want to give up, right? It's very overwhelming. And so in those moments, you have to stop and then just look at like, what am I capable of doing? We're always going to have things that overwhelm us, life situations that we can't control. And in that moment when I was stuck on the couch, my thought with this was at the time when I had that surgery, I was on oh my gosh, like I did PTA. I was on the board at the school, right? I did the community council. I was our HOA president over 300 houses. I volunteered at my church. And 4 kids, and my husband traveled every week. Like, I am the person that's like, I just love to be involved in everything. Well, when you're sitting for 4 months and you have to ask to be resigned and off and find substitutes and replacements, and then you realize nobody needs you, it was kind of a breath of fresh air because I realized like, why was I doing so many things? What was I trying to fulfill? Again, patterns and behaviors. And I realized like, I actually like doing one thing and maybe two. I don't need to be everywhere. And sometimes, I mean, for me, it took literally this horrible experience of being stuck on a couch for so many months and then having an act of God literally fix it and back to normal. And then I started my whole health and fitness journey because I'm like, I will never do that again. Like, I want to feel good. I can walk now. So you're going to have those moments where you realize like, I don't have to do it all because we tend to think we do. Now I realize there's a lot we have to do, especially as moms with jobs. So keep doing what you're doing if you're comfortable with it. But you've got to look at your body. Is your body keeping up? So that's your homework. Make lists. Look at all you say to yourself. Like I have clients, like because we do a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, like modules. And one of them, their homework assignment is, I want you to write down how many times you say something negative about yourself. And they're all like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. I don't struggle with it. Come back to me and let me know. It's like 50 times, 100 times. And I mean like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That counts. That's a negative feedback loop, right? I shouldn't have done that. I didn't look like that. I can't fit these shorts. Why did I do that? Right? We're hard on ourselves, let alone the natural bullying and beating up that we give ourselves. It's the little thoughts. And then on another day, I want you to keep track of every time you say something positive or a positive thought. And it's going to be like this much versus the negative is so much more. And so there's all those things that we have to look at that will help support our body because your body is going to feel tense if it feels like it's not doing a good job because you tell it 500 times a day it's not doing a good job. And it's not going to release and fat and heal, right, the way you want it to reduce inflammation if we're really hard on it, which sounds cheesy, but it really does work, right? Our body responds with what we intend for it to do, and it will be less stress because all of that is adding stress. So just keep in mind when the central nervous system is dysregulated, cortisol is off, right? You're in the sympathetic, like, feel like you're being chased by a bear. It in that state is survival mode. It impairs digestion. It impairs metabolism. It stalls fat loss. So when people say, if you're very, very, very stressed, you're gonna have a harder time losing fat, that's why, right? It's a major factor. And so that's why overall health also, because if you're swollen and inflamed, it's the root cause of most every autoimmune disease. So it isn't just a superficial, I want to see my biceps again. It is, I want to feel better. So with that said, I challenge you to make your notes. See how many times you talk nicely to yourself, how many times you speak not nicely to yourself, how overwhelmed do you feel? Make a note through the whole day of all that you think you should do and how much you can actually do. Just assess Where are you with your stress levels and how much support do you get? You might not have very much support. And then from there, you can decide, okay, what do I want to do about that? And I encourage you to do some of the nervous system, reducing stress, right? And there's plenty others, but those are just some of the few that are like the basics. And then the anti-inflammatory diet. So any questions that you guys have, you know, I'm always here to help you in any capacity. I try to give away as much of this, like these things for free. I answer as many DMs as I can online. But if you want to do like, hey, I want to spend 1 hour with you, please help me deep dive on some of this stuff, or let me send you my meal plan, or walk me through the anti-inflammatory diet. I have a food guide, right? You can just pay for an hour phone call. It's the same as getting a massage, right? It's not bad. I'll walk you through all this stuff. I want you to be able to feel better. If you decide I need more than this and you want to plan, I don't charge anything for this one. My anti-inflammatory protocol that I've been talking about, there's 3 supplements you'll purchase, and then I have the food guide I just give you for free. I give you the breath work for free. It's all in a PDF. I created it once. So as soon as you order the 3 supplements, you just let me know. I will send you the entire process. You can do it. That's where I say everyone that's lost 2 to 12 pounds, they literally just buy the supplements. I don't even charge you for that. If you want my time for a phone call and we deep dive into the how you got to this place, I would love to be able to do that. But yeah, if you guys want to order the 3 supplements, I will give you all the information to do the protocol that takes me from 10 pounds, inflamed down to where I am. I do my reset. That's what I did after my last vacation. I just jumped right back into my protocol and the weight is gone. So, that's not a problem either. So I've created all of it. So all you got to get is the supplements. If you decide that you want more and hey, I've got a lot of body fat to lose, my nutrition is off, I don't know where to go from now, I'm feeling stuck, I'm freaking overwhelmed, I've been doing this forever, something is wrong, right? Then that's where my 12-week coaching is. And we talk every single week, unlimited messaging. I review everything you eat, but more importantly, it's like the therapy side. Like we talk about everything, why you're doing this, and we peel the onion layer back. So it's the aha moment of, oh my gosh, this is why I've done this. And then you get out of your own way and then everything opens up. So I love it. That's probably my very favorite thing to do, and it's not that expensive. So any way that I can help you, obviously I have my monthly program, but that's just workouts and calories. So that gives you the tools to build the body you want, but not as much heal the body. So in any of these ways that I can help you guys. That's why I've tried to create. If you have other ideas or suggestions, let me know so I can help even further. Just depends on how much support you want and how fast you want to see results. So you guys have been great. Oh, there's a comment. Oh, from Karen. Jess is amazing. If you don't work with her yet, seriously, the most realistic coach. Thanks, Karen. I love you. It's been fun. You've been with me for years. Um, and then I want to make sure to answer a couple of these questions that people had asked. So, and if you guys have any other additional questions, I told them I would answer on here. So I've covered almost all of them. Um, so one great question, could you be this inflamed because Karen, you're stuck with me. No, I'm great with that. I love you. Somebody asked, could inflammation also be not taking enough rest days between lifting? Yes, lifting itself, you're tearing muscle fibers, right? You're injuring, if you can say that, the body, and it does inflame a little bit. We do get a little bit swollen from that. Does it contribute to 8 pounds of inflammation? No. So it's making sure that your body is not in a maxed out, stressed out state. Like think of a helium balloon that's already stressed, and now you're working out harder and harder. It could be the thing that just blows it. It's like, I can't take any more stress. But yes, I mean, I don't know what her workout schedule looks like, but if she's doing 8 days, 7 days, 8 workouts, double upping, that would be adding overall stress. Like we talked about, too much high intensity cardio, and we definitely would want to bring that back, especially during the 3-week anti-inflammatory diet. Um, so somebody says not losing and feel like it's inflammation. I'm walking 12 to 18,000 steps per day and I lift 3 times a week. So again, when we see inflammation, we naturally think we go to exercise and movement. And this is great. She's walking a ton. That's not a problem. 3 times a week, that's not a problem. But we just spent the last hour reviewing, it isn't about any of that, right? It's not the workout. It's not the exercising. And that's not also just going to fix it. If we still have the thorn in our side, we've got to look at that. Okay. So another great question. Hey, Shauna. I've loved getting to know you too the last little while. I'm in full menopause. Oh wait, I disappeared. I'm in full menopause. Should I be doing your full workouts or express workouts to help with cortisol? Okay, so what she's asking is, in my workout program, I have a full length workout that is a little bit longer, so it's definitely more intense, and then an express version, which is shorter, not easier, but just less exercises and sets. Great for beginners and those that are short on time. And so my question for you, Shauna, is if you're in menopause, definitely stress is a big piece, right? Our hormones shift, and so we carry body fat in different places. It's nuts what happens during this time period, right? And again, just kind of better understanding the body. And so if you feel like, hey, From what you've described, I'm pretty sure I'm inflamed due to the ankle lines, the full swollen face, right? So you're like, I'm pretty sure there's body fat, but it's more inflammation. I would do the anti-inflammatory diet with the reset, and I would do the express. So I'd give yourself just a little bit less, and then I would definitely do walking, and I would say for those 3 weeks, not anything that's high intensity cardio. So I would do the express just because it gives your body just a little bit of a break, and then it allows us to heal a little bit better. And then pull out the foods, you're going to have a much better foundation state. And then everyone that I've worked with, we go right back to the full workouts. I give you a month free on my app if you decide to do the anti-inflammatory diet and you buy the supplements. So, Shauna, I'll give you a free month if you buy the supplements and you do this. Just DM me because during that month, I want you to make sure you have the right type of workouts to follow. Ashlyn, sometimes if I'm short on time, I choose one of the hit work. Oh, she's on the program also. I'm short on time. I choose one of your hit workouts instead of the home express. Should I just skip that day instead and prioritize strength workouts, maybe just less times per week? I'm 37. If that changes anything, feel like inflammation is definitely an issue. Yes. Honestly, almost every one of us should do this. That's why when I do a one-on-one coaching, it's just like mandatory the first 3 weeks. Like we've got to make sure we clear that out because I can't help you lose weight if you're still on fire internally, which is what I call stress. So in my program, there's, like I said, there's the full workout for home or gym and there's an express version, but I also have follow along hit cardio workouts where it's like jumping jacks or a burpee or lightweight dumbbell bicep curls, right? It's like a higher heart rate, lower heart rate. And they're 15, 20 minutes. They're great. So she's asking, short on time, you choose the hit. And that's exactly why I have them. When you're short on time, they're great. Okay, so if you feel like inflammation is a problem during those 3, 4 weeks of reset and pulling those foods out, you are okay with either the express version because they're not going to be as intense, or also those hit because those I would just maybe do one round of each of the two instead of maybe doing two, or if you even push it for three, because you're just going to listen to your body. And then we look at the scale. So everything comes down to the scale. So you'll pull one thing out of, let's say, you're like, okay, so today instead of doing the hit cardio, I'm going to do the express, and then weigh yourself the next morning. Your body will show if inflammation changes, increases, or decreases. And again, like we're also eliminating foods, right? So you can't like pull all the foods and also be messing with all the workouts. And so that's why I suggest like, you and I can talk about this specifically depending on how inflamed you feel you are and which exercises you want to do. But I would say the hit cardio and the express strength is going to tax the body about the same. So one is a little higher heart rate with movement. One is lifting more but a lower heart rate, but they still are going to stress the body a little bit the same. And those hit workouts aren't too bad. So if you feel like, hey, I'm really, really struggling with this, my inflammation's out of control, I have all the symptoms you suggested, then that's when I would say, yeah, maybe skip the hit cardio, just do the express version. So, but I have probably a few more questions to ask you to make sure that we've got the right thing with what you're doing. So it all comes down to individuals. If you feel like, yes, I have every one of those symptoms, then I would just do the express version to clear that up. The hit workouts aren't bad. They're not intense cardio where you're keeping your heart rates. Like I would avoid stair climber. I would avoid my gosh, running, jogging, high intensity bike, right? Where we want to get our heart rate up. That's so taxing on the body if you're letting it have a chance to heal and pull that inflammation back. But the hit cardio workouts, they're not that high. That's the point of hit is it goes up and down. So, as long as you avoid the high intensity heart rate cardio, and everyone I've been doing this with, it's helped. So I didn't mean for that to be confusing. So sorry, I probably should have asked you a few questions before that. Every other question I saw on here, will this be recorded? Yes, I will send everybody in my stories and if you message me. Okay, so then the last question is, what happens when you eat well, no gluten, dairy, sugar, oats, you're tracking your macros and still inflamed? There's so many pieces, and I would assume, oh, Sean, I'll answer this one too in just a sec. So I would assume if you have pulled off, like, and here's one thing we got to focus on. Often we're not honest with ourselves. I do this all the time. I'm like, oh, I tracked everything I ate. And then my daughter's like, no, you didn't. You ate half my fries, on the way back from McDonald's or whatever it is. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't. Well, you're not doing it on purpose. We just naturally don't see all that we do because it is such a habit. It's like when you drive from point A to B and you're like, how did I even get here? It's just habit, right? And so for this question, if you are doing all the things and you've pulled out all the dairy, sugar, and gluten, then I would assume at this point, we're still maybe doing too much cardio that stresses us. Our sleep is off. We've not eliminated a huge stressor. Keep in mind, trauma can also be causing that stress. So I had to do a lot of healing internally post-divorce. I can't just change my food items and have something that is weighing on me, whether that's forgiving somebody or myself or establishing boundaries, whatever. Like if you have a really hard trauma, you've got to work through that. Sounds so easy to say, right? But we just have to acknowledge that this is holding me back. This is stressing me out. I need to be able to release some of that. So if you're doing all of the things, then we go to a deeper level of, do we have any hormone issues, like massive hormone issues? Have we not really regulated the central nervous system? She didn't mention that those were things she was doing. She's pulled food out, and it is necessary that we do both. And that trauma healing, that healing period, has to help with nervous system regulation also. And that's, a very individual thing. I help a little bit with that, but not a ton. I'm not trauma trained. Um, so last thing, what are your thoughts on feet up every day? Yes, Shauna, I do that every single day. That goes into the lymph drainage system. So there's some movements that I do, 60 seconds. There's like 8, 10 of them. And then I also, along my wall right here, when my kids are just in the family room, I lay on the floor and I raise my legs up along the wall, just like how you see right here. And I keep them up. And I'm there for probably at least 15 minutes. And that helps like pull that fluid out of my legs and then down through everything else. I actually for Christmas got a vibration plate also. I was given to it as a gift. And it's interesting how that it's, I don't use it for fat loss, but I do help it thinks like if you feel like you have a lymph drainage problem, which I have a whole bunch of like, do your legs pit? Like I've got a whole bunch of questions on that for people if they think that's an issue, which I do have that. The vibration plates actually helped. So I use that every day for 10 minutes too. And then there's the movements just to help get that fluid. So if you feel like my legs are very heavy, like I'll put my hand on my thigh and I can shake it and fat doesn't do that. And it's like I'll send you a video. It is insane. I've recorded it so many times. There's so much fluid in there. So when I cut out inflammation, that's why I could lose over an inch because there is so much fluid. So yeah, the lymph movements, the drainage, putting their feet up, that also helps reducing inflammation too. So I just feel like I'm a water hose with too much information. And especially if you guys aren't exactly sure, is this body fat? Is it inflammation? What the heck do I do with this? What food are anti-inflammatory? There's still a lot of questions. And so I just don't want to do more overwhelming. But always DM me, right? You can email me, support@gunningforfitness.com, or shoot me a DM. And I try to get through those as fast as I can. So thanks. Sorry to keep you guys for so long. I try to, I know I already talk fast anyways, but I try to be a little bit faster because I respect your time. But this is not just as simple as, oh, don't eat grains, right? Gluten does it. There's a lot of bigger things that are going on. So hopefully you guys love being a part of your community. Oh, thank you. I love being a part of your community and program. I'll reach out to schedule an hour session. Oh yeah, I love the hour sessions. I just like getting to know you guys. They're so fun, and we will have all of your questions written out. Like we'll be very prepared. We'll make the most of our time. Yeah, I really enjoy this, and we'll get you set up with exactly what you need. So you guys are awesome. Thanks so much for listening. I will share this in my group and Facebook group, and then also in stories. And message me, DM me if you want the recording, or anyone else that you think would benefit from it. So thank you again for being on here, and I'm excited to work with you guys, and hopefully you see the changes that you want.